What's up, Dice Crew? Now, everybody, right now, I'm sure y'all all are aware that Crip just had his sentencing, right? So he got his time. So we got Wack 100 discussing, the in and outs or the backstory pertaining to Crip getting the time that he got. So let's tune in to see what all Wack got to say. I'm gonna keep it a Benji for y'all doing the reaction. Y'all keep it a Benji for me in the comments. Shout out to the Dice Crew. Let's rock.
Was you at Crip Mac's
Yeah, I went.
I thought I heard you talking in the background.
Yeah, no, I made a YouTube vlog. I think I got like 180K right now of me going there, hanging out with his mom, his grandma, his baby. China Mac, nowhere to be found. He was in Vietnam, hiding out from the law.
Well, you know how that go. I did a part 1 on the Crip Mac thing, so I'm going to run part 2
What do you
probably
mean?
tomorrow.
What's part 1?
Well, part 1 is everybody was hearing this 10-year thing. Ghost gun.
You missed out. You didn't hear my verse.
I ought to hear that shit. Let me hear that shit.
I can't do it right now. I'll play it for you after. I premiered it for those other dudes.
Ghost gun, and he had prior convictions and felonies. So when we heard the 33 months, it just sounded suspicious. But I've never done Fed time. I know about the Feds. I got people on my clubhouse floor who's been to the Feds. So I called one of the homies. He did like 262 months, a little over 21 years.
For the same charge?
No, he was a paperwork reader.
Okay.
So I just kind of broke it down to him what it was and the different elements of it. And I told him I was recording him because he didn't want to come to Clubhouse. And he gave me the green light I could take the recording back and play it.
Okay.
But quite naturally, because I brought the recording back and played it, it's like Wack said it.
Okay.
Right?
But you're inferring that's way too little time.
Definitely. This is what I'm...
And you're inferring that there might be, like, what kind of circumstances would lead to that?
Well, only when you're dealing with the Feds, it's whenever you get below the mandatory minimum, right, we automatically assume you're cooperating. But it's other factors. Let me get to it. So he gave his whole spiel.
He's been focusing on his workouts.
About
I think
14,
the judge appreciated that.
14, 15 minutes, his whole spiel on what it is. So, that guy's from the red side.
Okay.
Right? So I called one of my partners from the blue side, Big Fave from Long Beach Insane, because he's done a lot of time in the Feds. So I sent him, he heard the recording, and I said, yo, tell me if there's any holes in this or something that's missing. So Big Fave, and this was, Big Fave is, they're trades, they insanes, right? So, Crip Mac's a neighborhood.
Right.
But Big Fave called a spade a spade. So he sent me back this morning everything, all the other possibilities. So part 1 is what we think it to be. Part 2 is going to be the other possibilities by penal code and federal law that it could be.
Okay.
Ultimately, the thing is what's going to call the shot is his actual paperwork.
Crip Mac would never tell. He's a man of principle.
Listen, at the end of the day...
Integrity.
At the end of the day...
He does a lot for his community.
I'm running content, right? And people want to know. So at the end of the day, my man says, what's going to be the determining factor? I don't want to say this wrong.
Don't you think that the conversation about who's snitching should take place privately and then the conclusion should be brought out publicly?
Fuck no.
You think
they don't do nothing privately.
It should all be dragged
they
out in public?
niggas publicly. They make up shit publicly.
Not Crip Mac.
And yes, he does.
He's a good man.
Now, I'm going to say this. ADAM22 is absolutely right. If we going to get to doing some type of politicking or searching for, a certain conclusion pertaining to a certain situation, especially something that's so as sensitive and serious as snitching, it definitely should get taking place behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? So, but we live in a different day now that content is content. And once we open up the door, and when I say we, I'm not necessarily saying that everybody participates in that. But once a large percentage puts so much stuff on the internet that shouldn't really be on the internet anyway, the door just keep getting pushed further and further and further back to where in a minute it's just going to be just a full-on flood of anything and everything. which is kind of like where we at now. You know what I mean? But I also get what Adam is saying, because if it's no real facts or no real proof, then we kind of associating a person with something for no reason. Even if you feel how you feel, you could be genuine, you could be serious, you could be whatever. But at the end of the day, once you start running the whole politic campaign public in front of everybody, now in so many ways, you have attached something to a person. It don't even have to be like, yeah, you necessarily saying that like Crip Mac snitched, because Wack haven't said that yet. But the fact that you even making it a big deal, like we got to see his paperwork, we trying to see why he got that, the time he got, it's just like creating conversation and thought process.
I ain't got nothing against Crip Mac. It's content. Ain't nobody bigger than the content. You know that.
And y'all heard what Wack just said. He said he ain't got nothing against Crip Mac. It's just content. Ain't nobody bigger than the content. Me personally, I would like to say that Wack do have something against Crip Mac based upon, Crip Mac done did a couple rants against Wack 100 and his family and stuff like that. But, Wack said he ain't got no personal problem against him. However, he also said that ain't nobody bigger than the content, which is like, that's also crazy too, because you would never have thought that you would be like, we would be living in a time frame to where these type of situations would be even considered content. You know what I'm saying? However, at least Wack said that, and he kept it a Benji. He said he owned it for the content, and ain't nobody bigger than the content. So it's like, even if we agree or disagree, at least he said the truth. Because, a lot of people would have just been saying, oh, he clout chasing. He pretty much telling the truth. Like, you know what I'm saying? He just looking for the content. And he don't have no sympathy or nothing like that for Crip Mac or other dudes and stuff like that with him. So he don't even care. He like fair game.
Ain't nobody bigger than the
That just seems
content.
like a weird excuse to use for every single thing becoming a part of the public record. You don't think any kind of investigation deserves to take place
I am
behind closed
investigating.
doors? Yeah, but you're doing it publicly.
So what?
I'm just saying, don't you think that the investigation would seem a little bit more legitimate if you were doing it behind the scenes?
No, because I had one side break down what he thought it to be. I called the other side, and he listened to that, and he sent me everything that it could possibly be in Crip Mac's favor. We're going to run that tomorrow, but it's going to come down to his PSI report, which he has.
You want to know why I don't believe it? So,
Believe what?
3 different people had to see the judge before Crip Mac while I was in there, right? First guy, black dude. Based on his face tattoos and shit, looked like he could have been a gang member, right? They bring him in. The judge immediately says, everybody has to leave the courtroom so we can discuss this guy's sentence or whatever. None of us witnessed any of it. So obviously we are all talking outside and we're like, if I had to guess, that's probably because he's cooperating, okay?
But you didn't see the paperwork.
We didn't see it.
See, you're doing it.
Yeah, I'm not specifying who this guy was. I don't know who the fuck he was. It's just some guy. But then after him, Mexican guy, problems with meth, involved in alleged murder, whatever. They're talking about his probation. But this all happens right in front of us. Next guy, dude who lost his business as a result of the pandemic, etc., had a meth charge, violated his probation. That all takes place in front of us. Then Crip Mac comes out. They do the whole little song and dance with Crip Mac. They don't kick us out of the room. So you got 4 people. One of them, we got kicked out of the courtroom so that they could discuss. Seems reasonable to think that that might have been a snitching thing. Crip Mac, we all get to stay in there. So if there was going to be any kind of conversation about like, okay, leniency because you told whatever, from my perspective, no
All that
evidence of
shit gonna happen how it happened. But at the end of the day, nobody bigger than the content. So I'm gonna run the content, and I'm gonna give it a fair shake. I got one side.
And I just gotta chime in again because Wack just doubled down again and said that ain't nobody bigger than the content. So I'm just pointing that out so like everybody can really understand what kind of time we in. And I ain't saying everybody is on some nothing bigger than content behavior, but some people is running that course. If I'm not mistaken, that pretty much was like the same reason Adam used to not be able to be available for that one first court date pertaining to Crip Mac. When him and China Mac kind of started having a fallout, whatever the case may be. He was kind of like, content come first. So at least, when you got people out here telling the truth about certain things, whether you rock with it or you against it, learn from it at least. And then, at least be aware in what type of time we in.
Of it, and he's basing it on the mandatory minimum. I sent that recording to my boy Big Fave from Insane. He listened to it, and then everything he sent me was in favor of Crip Mac.
Okay, well, that's good, yeah.
Right, so I'm going to run that tomorrow.
We must honor and elevate Crip Mac.
At the end of the day,
of 55th Street.
At the end of the day, the PS.
And you see how he pretty much just explained a certain conversation that he got with somebody else who got history and experience from pertaining to the feds. Is pretty much saying that Crip Mac, everything that he said about the situation is in Crip Mac's favor, right? Which goes back to what I was saying earlier on in the video. This is just all creating a situation to have a person attached to a certain situation. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they not even really being literal on saying Crip Mac is a snitch. Then he's also throwing certain things in the conversation about how like certain people is saying, everything is in the favor of Crip Mac. So it's kind of like back to what I said. It's like, Crip Mac, he a hot topic. He just, everybody is always worrying about who's snitching, who's not. We can see it through the success of 1090 Jake's platform that a lot of people is definitely, interested in who snitched and who didn't. Even if they civilians or street people is tuned in on that. So it does make for good content. Again, I'm not going to say that I agree with this type of stuff because I really don't do nothing about nothing in the streets on the internet unless it's already on the internet. That's just how I try to run my course, but this is the type of time we in.
So you're going to have this side, and then what's going to call the shot is a PSI report.
Okay.
Now, people get mad at me like they get mad at you.
PSI stands for what? Pounds per square inch?
It is.
That's what it is
Shit,
when you're filling up a tire. No?
Right, this is why I'm calling federal people that been to the feds, did a lot of time in the feds to break it down, right? So I'm not going to be guessing with that type of shit. So I believe that based upon my study, there's a few factors in there that probably help Crip Mac.
Okay.
For one,
his workouts.
Your punk ass showing up.
There you go.
Remember what I told you?
Andrew Callahan, big deal.
Remember what I told you?
Andrew Callahan did a GoFundMe, raise $50,000 for his lawyer.
But look, remember I told you? That makes a difference.
Okay.
You showing up.
They showing up. Barely acknowledged me, but
they acknowledged that his employer.
His lawyer did say that. The judge, I don't think, gave a shit, or it seemed like she was past caring about who was in the courtroom.
No, he got love. Two, I believe his mental history may have played a factor, which Big Fave sent me some literature on that. Three, the fact that the ghost gun, and this I don't know for sure, was kind of it was like inoperable.
It couldn't shoot, yeah.
Right. So I think those.
Wow, that's actually crazy, and I'm gonna give y'all the reason why that's kind of crazy, right? Because if God care about you, the high power, whatever y'all believe in, He'll save you. And now let's just talk about something on the deep note. So Crip Mac running around with a gun that don't even work, right? Imagine what could have actually took place and what kind of position that Crip Mac can be in right now if something had happened and he really couldn't even protect himself. You know what I'm saying? Because, in my belief, I feel like Crip Mac is just running around, and I ain't saying he's having guns or if he is or not. But if he was to have guns, I would feel like it's more on a protecting himself position, not like he's just trying to cause harm to somebody else. So just imagine if something did take place and he couldn't even protect himself. Crip Mac could be in a way much more situation possibly. You know what I'm saying? We could be saying a lot of negative things like, it could be a real bad outcome for Crip Mac if that had actually took place. So it's like, God got him off the streets and it's like, man, you don't even know what kind of position you was in, son. So that's crazy to me, you know? And then also why it's crazy to me is because you guys have people getting out here on this internet, on this YouTube, popping hot stuff, talking about they this, that, and the third, and they the generals, and they all kind of stuff. And they ain't even really making sure they young homies and they, you know, they soldiers or whatever you call it and all that is operating in the right way. Like, come on, man, you know, you got to know what's going on with these situations before. I mean, you will definitely want to know what's going on with a gun before you just run around and just have it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it's like, man, like knowledge is the key. You know what I'm saying? Especially like that was just definitely a bad situation. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody want to be in a position to have a gun that that don't work or malfunction in the mix of having any type of situation. You know what I'm saying? But let's continue.
Now, the two things that puzzled me was he had 2 or 3 prior convictions, which when it comes to the little chart kind of elevates you up there. But he might have got a safety valve based on his mental. So we're going to go over that. Baby Runner from Neighborhood 40s, he called me. Well, he came in the room talking crazy in the chat. I wasn't in there. So I called my man Pee-wee. Pee-wee got him on the phone. Me and Baby Runner went back for about 30 minutes when everything calmed down. And I sent him what I had. He said, okay, Wack, you really did do some research. I thought you was just on bullshit. I said, bro, I'm not going to run all the content at once. I'm going to run one side, let the people chatter. I'm going to run the other side, let them chatter. And then ultimately, it's going to come down to the PSR report. So I'm going to bring Baby Runner on Clubhouse. We're going to go over this shit.
Wait, Baby Runner anti-Crip Mac in this? No, right?
No, he's pro-Crip Mac.
Okay, good, yeah.
He's pro-Crip Mac. But, for me to go run the room without him being there, because he really called real upset today. I got to keep it real because he's the only one that really seems to be upset. He's
Baby Runner?
Crip Mac's my guy. Right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to respect that. Once he saw the shit I had, he said, damn, Wack, you really was doing your homework. I said, here's 2 sides to it.
If Crip Mac told, that would be my 9/11. And I lived through 9/11, so it would be worse than that.
It's only one thing. I'm just giving this perspective, one not in favor of him, one in favor of him. So now all the factors are there, and then his PSR report is going to dictate. And probably Lupe or somebody has that shit.
Hit my Lupe. Hit my Lupe.
Yeah.
Hit my Lupe.
If not, they better get it from the attorney, and I'm pretty sure they requested from him because they see both sides and they know people is talking. It could be, it might not be. He said this is that, this, that. Okay, the PSI dictates it. I'm pretty sure when they request it, they'll put it up, and then that'll be it.
Once you figure out that Crip Mac has never told, I want you to celebrate that as loudly as you have voiced this investigation.
Listen, I don't give a if he told or didn't tell. It's just content for me. No, I don't.
Okay, but you care about it in the sense that it's going to change how your content.
Now, these stance, like the stance that ADAM22 is taking, you can definitely tell that he cared for Crip Mac. Whether it's actually, you know, a friend or he know that if Crip Mac come home, you know, he gonna definitely do some great content with Crip Mac and, you know, they gonna probably tear the roof off the house. But he's definitely taking the stance to where he's challenging Wack for real. Like he just said, he said, you know, I hope when you get to the bottom of this, you was as loud with the, you know, clearing Crip Mac name up the same way you loud about this investigation you running, you know? And that's like a person who's really taking a stance in a defense of something. So he's definitely in defense of Crip Mac.
That comes out.
No. It's content regardless. The other shit's moving already. Right? It's already moving. The one side. I started, now let me tell you what I did. I let go the side that's not in favor of him first. Why? Because the attention span of people is going to remember what?
You ever watch a documentary? They hit you with all the crazy theories and shit before they get to the actual truth.
The last thing that's put in front of them.
Right.
So the last thing I'm putting in front of them are all these things that's in his favor. Right? Now, I don't give a if he did or didn't shit. It didn't matter to me. But looking at a lot of the facts that my boy Big Fave said, you know, I see it's a possibility that he could have got what he got.
I guess I could maybe see Crip Mac saying the wrong thing at the wrong moment with the cops just because he's such a free spirit and he's so thinking off the top of his head. But in terms of intentionally rolling over on somebody else, no way.
Well, first of all, white guy, that doesn't exist where we're from.
What?
There's no saying the wrong thing at the wrong moment. Once you say the wrong thing, you said the wrong thing. In his defense, I think if Crip Mac did say the wrong thing, it would just be incriminating itself.
Yeah, I don't think
if he did
anybody
say the wrong thing,
yeah.
he'll say some shit that's gonna f him up.
I could kind of
I
see
don't think
that.
he's gonna blurt out.
It was him.